like about 3 or 4 games with it last night, and I was just like bored to goddamn tears. Oh my god.
I played it. I played it quite a bit last night.
It's like people say aggro's easy to pilot. Oh my god, that deck is like the easiest deck in the world.
Well, you either win or you don't.
Yeah.
I mean, you either have what you need or you don't. There's really no in between. If you draw badly, there's not a whole lot you can do. I mean, you have a little bit of slight room for strategy, but you're very much confined by what you draw. That's probably one of the most draw dependent decks I've played in a really long time.
Twitch.tv/ECMMO Gamers.
So I played quite a bit of that Shirvala Paladin as well.
The OTK Holy Wrath? The heal.
Well, it's the OTK Holy Wrath.
I haven't played like the meta version of it yet. I've only played my version, so it's probably
a meta.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, there are people that have already.
There's a meta version of Healadin.
Well, actually, the aggro Healadin that RDU posted. Oh my god, that thing is fun.
Yeah, it's pretty gross.
It's gross, but it can get just trounced.
It can, well, like most aggro decks, actually, you can just brick.
Yeah, it does brick. It feels bad when it bricks too.
But I think I'm going to talk about this in the show. But I think we are in an aggro meta.
Oh yeah, we are without a doubt in the aggro meta.
I think we might actually be in a mid-range meta.
Well, I
Once it
think
settles, I think it's going to settle mid-range.
It's possible. We'll see.
I think that Spell Hunter is going to end up being very mid-range control-y because of the aggro, but I think it's still going to dominate it.
Also, the aggro meta that we're in now is more like turn 7 win aggro, not so much
Turn 5.
turn 5 like it used to be.
That's fine. That's fine. As long as I'm
So, did you guys watch any of the Invitational today?
I had no
Yes.
chance to.
So
I was getting my teeth ground. I was getting my teeth scraped.
one of the things that Cora talked about was how so many people brought Warrior, and it wasn't quite performing as well as I think they had hoped.
The only warrior that did okay was the mid-range one. The mid-range Dragon Warrior, and it still wasn't great.
But that mid-range Dragon Warrior, they had things that they had to include in the deck. There was some deck building restrictions.
Right. Well, I mean,
like
one of their decks had to be for the lower they represented, regardless of what they wanted to play.
And 2 of the people chose Rhino as their Loa, so
yeah,
they had to have a Kali in it. I think the good Warrior deck doesn't have a Kali in it.
no, neither Akali or the Spirit.
Kali's bad.
Unfortunately,
I called it Don Honcho in the review.
yeah.
Don Honcho was great.
No, he wasn't. I think if you are planning on, if you don't plan for weapons and you don't run at least one silence in every one of your decks, I think you're gonna run up against some things that you're just not gonna be able to handle.
Yeah, you got to run silence now. Now that 2-mana silence, and we'll talk about it on the show, but that 2-mana silence might actually be good. The silence is a taunt minion.
I think it's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it doesn't go into odd decks, so
They still have the bird. They still have the hoot hoot.
the bird
Bird is the word.
We already started the show already. Got a Avanti's grown.
I guess I need to share my screen with y'all, don't I?
I think we'll end up I think we'll see corrosive. Wait, is it not
It's
corrosive
5 mana.
ooze? What's the
3 mana
three?
ooze.
Yeah.
Gluttonous ooze.
I think we'll see gluttonous until set rotation, and then I think we'll see Harrison back in for odd decks.
I told, if you guys watch the review Matt and I did at the end of the warrior section, I asked him, I said, now that we've seen these warrior weapons and these hunter weapons, do you think we'll see the reemergence of Harrison in most decks? And we actually broke that down and talked about that during our review for a few minutes. So
Because we did it in 45 minutes, and we needed to stretch it out.
I saw him a couple of times today, but
Ooh, I have a golden salter ice. Sweet.
Wow.
oh, all right, gentlemen, I have 7:29. We got 1 minute.
looks like you're still dropping. I got a note on my Twitch saying that drops are available on ECMMO Gamers.
Oh, well, yeah, refresh, and I changed it from Eternal to Hearthstone.
Okay.
But I didn't do it until after I went live, so if you were already on the page, you'll have to refresh.
Way to go. You're fired.
Good
You're
idea.
fired. Take the next 3 weeks off.
You know what? Fine, I will.
That's actually 4.
That's true. It's true.
You get
Fine.
the
You know
month
what?
off, no
I won't
pay.
see you for a month.
No pay.
Is that really a threat to anyone? No. All right, gentlemen. Starting in 5, 4, 3, 2. And that's the end of last week's title card.
You're just getting to be a habit, sir.
Yeah, I know. So 3, 2. And welcome to Hero Power. I'm your host, Avantes, and as always, I'm joined by my co-hosts, Versika.
I guess I'm Brasika this week.
Yeah,
because-
I just noticed that. You guys couldn't have pointed that out in pre-show.
Somebody wasn't sharing their screen.
Y'all are killing me. Just killing me. Anyway.
This is why you come live and watch the show live.
That's right. So anyway, as I was saying, Versika, how are you doing?
I'm a little under the weather, but I'm here.
And Zeroshio.
So we have proof that once show ends and he's done editing, Avantes doesn't even think about us until literally minutes before we go live the next week.
That's honestly the truth. I'm sorry, guys. I mean, you guys have to remind me to make show notes. I mean, that should tell you something. And Man at Arms, how are you doing, sir?
It's Wednesday, my dudes.
It is, and it's not just Wednesday. It's Wednesday after launch day.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Hope Day. Yeah.
No.
No,
Stop.
Oh, man.
no, don't even start, Versika.
Mike.
Thank you so much for reminding me. I need to do that.
Oh, it's been a year since he's done that. I'm good.
You're fired. You're fired. Take
We're
the
just-
next
everybody's
month off.
fired.
Well,
All right, guys. So we've got a great show lined up for you. We got a little bit to talk about tonight, and then in lieu of playing a deck like we normally do, we are going to do a card review of the neutral cards from Rastakhans Rumble. Now, you're probably like, neutral cards? What happened to the class cards? Well, we've done the reviews for the class cards, They are all 9 classes are currently available to our patrons, and we will begin rolling those class card reviews out to you guys starting next week. So, basically, with the holidays coming up, there's a lot going on, and in lieu of a live show next week, in lieu of a live Hero Power podcast next week, you will receive the first of our class card reviews in your RSS feed. And then the week after that, you'll get the second set of 3 class reviews. And then the week after that, which would be the day after Christmas, you'll get the third set of class reviews for Rastakhans Rumble from us. And then we're going to take the following week, which would be January 2nd, off for the holiday. And then we'll be back with brand new content. I believe it would be January the 9th. Yes, Wednesday, January the 9th. So there will be content from us for the next 3 weeks in your RSS feeds. So, we'll be there for you. And the guys, Versika, Zeroshio, and Mad at Arms, have a little something they're planning on doing on the side, possibly. Those of you who are longtime watchers know that right after a expansion drops, the mad scientist that is Versika likes to get into the alchemy lab with Zeroshio or Mad at Arms, or maybe both this time. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, so to basically recap, we will not have a live Hero Power podcast episode over the next 3 weeks. We will be pushing out all of our reviews to iTunes and YouTube over the next 3 weeks after this week, of course. And then in lieu of live shows, we will be having a few Alchemy Lab episodes, or we'll have some form of content. Just pay attention to twitch.tv/ECMMO Gamers and our Twitter over at HeroPower_cast, as we will announce those around the holidays, because we may not be able to do it right on Wednesdays. It may have to be Fridays or some other day that works with us through the holidays. And obviously the 9th of January we'll get back started. We will have more information about HCT and things like that. So that's when the news will start coming out.
Who knows? We may even rogue the Steam or the stream key from Avanti's and maybe do some streaming on the main channel.
Absolutely. What? You guys are... Well, anytime you want to do that, you just let me know. So, all right. So let's get...
Well, he's got that bad boy locked down, so we're about to call and get him to let us out of Twitch jail.
Yeah.
Long enough to do it, but...
So, all right. So no emails this week, no iTunes reviews. We do have some news to talk about. So
hold on real quick before you go. So the listener that emailed in 2 weeks ago? Was it 2 weeks ago? Okay. So if you're listening and you haven't checked your email, check your email. I sent you something that I think you're going to like. And then I also sent you an attachment that I think you're going to like. It is not a virus. I apologize that I didn't get the deck list sent to you right after the show. I meant to get with Avanti's. We ended up talking business after the show, and then it kept slipping our minds until finally I woke up one morning and realized that it had been almost 2 weeks before I'd sent it. So I'm not sure. I sent a read receipt with it, and I never got anything back saying that it had been opened. So if something happened and your virus scanner or whatever caught it, then I promise it's not a virus. It's actually a breakdown of the deck and how to play it. But I recorded it for you so that since we weren't doing it on the show, it was a walkthrough on how to pilot the 3 decks that I sent you. So
awesome. All right, so this has been a rather busy week. We have Rastakhans Rumble live, but before that, the end of last week, the eSports team dropped an article called "What's Next in eSports," So we're not going to go over everything they talked about, but we are going to talk about some of the high points. One of the biggest changes, I guess, is that there won't be any more Tavern Hero qualifier type events for players to go and compete for a spot to play in a Tavern Hero Championship. Instead, they are now going to do all qualifiers as online events through a third party, that all events will be run by Blizzard directly. So what that means is, and they're not going to, these events are not going to be region locked either. So you can go and you can sign up for any event and play and try to qualify that way. Another big change coming down is that ladder finishes really won't matter anymore. Zeroshio, do you want to expand on this a little bit?
Yeah, basically, ladder finishes at the end of a month warranted you points based on where your ladder finish was. If you got Legend at all, you got 1 HCT point. Top, I think it was 1,000 was 2, and then as you went up into the top 200, you got a substantial increase up to I think it was 25 for first, if I'm not mistaken. It could be 50. I can't remember what it was. But no longer are those points being attributed to a point system to qualify for any kind of playoffs. Everything's going to be done through tournament finishes. So that being said, a lot of your pro players are going to forego the ladder grind because they really won't need it anymore. And you'll probably see some of your pro players that are also streamers still streaming on the ladder. But what it comes down to is basically the only thing the high legend ladder could be used for is maybe practice. So points really won't matter. And this is also good because for the pro players, because a lot of those pro players that are playing on the ladder, they're trying to get these points and practice for these tournaments and whatnot that they're qualifying for, and they're playing against their competitors on the ladder. So this way they can just keep the practices within their teams and kind of keep it quiet. So maybe this might actually diversify our meta in the tournaments. I don't know. I don't think this is a bad thing necessarily. I don't know if it'll be a good thing. We'll just have to see how it plays out.
Okay. The other big announcement that was taken out of this drop is that they will be ending the Conquest format, which has been used for tournaments for the last 2.5 years, I think.
Almost 3.
Yeah, almost 3 now. And so there will be the introduction of a new format. We don't have all of that information right now. There's a lot of speculation in the community about what it will be, but we don't have anything concrete or any more information from Blizzard at this time. Matt, you got anything you want to chip in there?
No, basically, yeah, it's all speculation. And if you remember last week's show, we kind of talked about this speculation a little bit. I think this is kind of what everything's moving towards. So we'll see, and I think we'll hear more sometime probably in April, maybe, when the year of the whatever is announced. So we'll probably hear a lot more then.
Okay.
Yeah, and one of the big speculations, and we're not going to go too much into it, is that it'll be going to a single deck format or single class format. And I kind of like you've seen in Magic the Gathering and other card games, hard copy card games. Again, this hasn't been confirmed. There has been some speculation from leaks from some Chinese organizations. But again, we have to remember the Chinese eSports division is completely segmented off of the rest of the world. So what could be coming out of the Chinese news sources may or may not apply to your region.
And just to kind of note that the HGC in the Chinese sort of side, I'm going to call it the side space of Blizzard there, They actually run a best of 2 format when everyone else was running a best of 3 format.
Just to clarify, you said HGC. This is the
Heroes
Global Championships.
Right.
So
HGC, not HCT.
Yes, just making sure we have that clarified for our listeners.
Yeah, so they already run their Heroes environment a little differently. It's not beyond the realm of possibility that they would run their Hearthstone a little differently. I hope that's the case. I hope they don't go to a single deck format like what they were talking about in the Chinese scene. But even though a lot of the other information lined up, without an announcement, we don't know for sure. And it also, that rumor also gives Blizzard a chance to evaluate whether the feedback for that is positive or negative, because that change doesn't have to be implemented right away. And once again, I'm gonna bring up Heroes a little bit. So the XP changes for the Heroes, they actually went into the community to gather feedback on whether they thought that was going to be a positive change or a negative change. And they waited on that feedback, and they're evaluating that feedback now. So just because something is rumored or even announced, if there's time for Blizzard to work on it, sometimes they will evaluate that feedback and go in a different direction. Sometimes it's the direction they want to go, and that's the way they're going to go. But with with the changes, all they know, I guess all we know for sure is that they want to move away from Conquest. So one of the things that was cited in that rumor was that it was the length of time for both the organizers and the players. And if you've ever been to one of the events, even with Last Hero Standing at DreamHack, that's a grueling weekend if you're a competitor and you're doing well. The Swiss rounds take a long time, and by the time you get to the single elimination bracket, having to go through all the Swiss, you're at the end of day 2, and you've been playing since like 10 o'clock that morning. So it's long for the organizers, it's long for the players. I'm sure they're trying to decrease that size. So, it's one of those things where I know China does it a little differently, but the rest of the stuff is the same. So hopefully we're looking at China doing the one deck thing, and maybe they're going into a different direction that's going to make the tournaments go faster for HCT.
Okay. So yeah, as we said, more to come in the near future. We should know more after the first of the year as this more comes into fruition. So
I will say this, with speculations aside and all this, if they're going to change the format, I would love to see a strike format. I know we haven't talked about strike in a couple of years.
Wow.
But strike format is one of my favorite formats, and that would be really cool.
That's a blast from the past.
Yeah. So
right.
All right. Moving on. Rastakhans Rumble is now live.
Yes.
So as of yesterday, if you're listening to from the day we're recording, so 2 days from the day you're listening to this, and I can't be more stoked. It's as exciting as I hoped it would be. The hype lived, even though there were a lot of people kind of thinking the hype would have died down since they were doing pre-release events. But we got 6 free Rastakhans Rumble packs just for logging in, including our free legendary Loa, along with 2 copies of that Loa Spirit. So that was pretty awesome. Just right out of the gate, you get a Loa and Loa Spirits plus 6 free packs. So let's talk initial impressions of the set. We're a little more than 24 hours in. More like 32 or something like that at this point. So what do we think of Rastakhans Rumble thus far? Matt at Arms, we'll start with you.
This set so far is extremely fun. The gameplay seems different already. And we already have the Boogeyman. We seem to have already seen the Boogeyman if you've been in our Discord.
Yeah.
I think this set, they seriously have increased the power level, I think, significantly, but not completely overpowered. There's a lot of cool stuff out there. I think if you just got your Loa and just your spirit, just build around that and just try to do something. Right now, it's silly season and it's a blast, and I'm having probably the most fun I've had in Hearthstone in a while.
Awesome. Zeroshio, what are your day one impressions?
So I think what they did with Rastakhans Rumble with the Loas was far more successful as a full set in class identifying than Mean Streets was with the guilds or gangs, whatever you want to call them, and what Knights of the Frozen Throne were with the hero cards. Each class has a clear, definitive role, but they also have tools to allow you to play outside that box if you want to, which is the one thing I really, really love about this set is there's not just one way to play a specific class. There's one main way, and then you can kind of play a hybrid version or a different version, and there's enough neutral cards to support, enough good neutral cards to support other kind of off-the-wall meta decks. I'm really excited to see what else is churning. Obviously, like every other set before it, the first 24 hours, the meta is stabilized, and everybody knows exactly the best decks ever. And this could never be farther from the truth. Just like other sets, tomorrow is going to have a different best and worst deck, and the next day, and even hour by hour, it changes. I think I've seen like 6 different Reddit threads in the last 24 hours claiming 6 different decks were the most oppressive decks that already need to be nerfed. Mm-hmm. Though I will say this, no standout card, in my opinion, it has like an obvious target on it for some form of nerf. Now, I know somebody who's probably going to speak next has a slightly different opinion, but, and I'll just go ahead and break the fourth wall here. Zul'jin is a hero card. It's the only hero card. Dr. Boom had a big splash when he was debuted, and Hagatha wasn't so much right as soon as she debuted, but shortly after when she got tucked into Shutterwalk, she was very influential there. So I think Zul'jin is a solid card, and people will figure out how to play around it or deal with it. And I'm happy with the meta. I'm having a hard time trying to figure out what to play though, because there's literally 8-9 different decks that I just want to invest all my time in, but I don't want to just invest my time in like 1 or 2 decks.
Okay. All right. So, Versika, I saved you for last because it's pretty well known you weren't real happy with Boomsday as overall as an expansion, as a theme. You didn't play a whole lot of Hearthstone during that meta. So now that Rastakhan has dropped and we're 24 hours in, why don't you give us your kind of fresh opinion on, having been not played very much to now, what do you think of Rastakhan thus far?
I really like it. I think they did, like Zeroshia said, I think they did a really good job with 8 of the 9 classes and their lowest. I think they did a good job with all 9 classes in the class that I don't think they did a good job with their Loa was Warrior. And their Loa has nothing to do with the strength of that class. I don't think it's going to see very much play in this expansion anyway. And actually, for more on that, definitely check out Avanti's and Mad at Arms review of that class. As I was talking before the show, I've actually played more Hearthstone in the last 24 hours than I have in the last probably 4 months.
Nice.
I've played quite a few games. It was funny because my wife and I were talking the other day. I was just like, yeah, I just don't know that I could play 30 games in a day anymore. Well, I didn't play 30 games. I played 45, which is far and away my heaviest Hearthstone day in a long time. I like pretty much everything I've seen so far except for Zul'jin. I think Zul'jin is, to me, it's a class-specific Yogg-Saron that can't kill itself. And if you remember, they nerfed Yogg-Saron to make it to where if it targeted itself, the effects stopped. And now you basically gave Hunter the exact same thing without any way to stop it once it starts. So
arguably, Zul'jin can kill himself. I'm just pointing out.
It's true.
Yeah, but I mean, if you wait until you're at 3 health to play it, you're playing with fire. But most of the time when I ran into it, it wasn't played at 3 health. It was played at like 11 or 12 health. But yeah, so I mean, aside from Zul'jin, which I wasn't, I wasn't quiet about my disdain for Shutterwalk. I don't like cards that you can play poorly for an entire game and then play this card and RNG happens and suddenly you win the game. So, I was never a fan of Yogg-Saron. I'm not a fan of Shutterwalk, even though it's more controlled and it takes a little more preparation and such to pull off. But it's like once you get Shutterwalk, there's just no stopping it. So lack of counterplay. I don't like cards that have no counterplay. So Shutterwalk, Yogg-Saron, and now Zul'jin. I don't care for cards like that. Outside of that, I've been having a lot of fun with Rogue, a lot of fun with Shaman, a lot of fun with Druid. Now, I was unfortunate enough to draw Shirvala as my Loa. So
I love Shirvala. Oh man, come on now.
So I wish. Now, okay, so we got a free legendary and 2 free rares to back it up. Never going to complain about that. I wasn't going to craft it. I was going to have to draw it at some point. This just keeps me from getting it out of a pack. So fair. I'm okay with that. But honestly, outside of yesterday, probably never going to play the card again. I don't care for Paladin. Probably not going to play Paladin. I wish they had let us ban a class or 2 from getting that Loa, because almost everybody has a class or 2 that they don't play that just doesn't fit their play style. I would have liked to have been able to ban it so that at least the Loa that I got when I logged in was something that I liked. And that would have been it. I mean, like I said, I'm not going to complain about a free legendary, and I could always dust it and get the dust for it. So I'm not going to complain about it. I'm just, in the future, something maybe to think about.
I got a Kali.
Yeah. Ugh. Okay. So you got to. Yeah. It's not that Warrior's going to be bad, because I think Warrior's actually going to be really good.
Just not a Kali Warrior.
Yes.
You have a Rhino Spirit and a Rhino Loa, and no Rhinos in Warrior.
So that brings me to the question. We say that the Loa for Warrior is the worst that we believe at this point out of all 9 classes. However, is that semi-forgivable because of the identity they gave Warrior with dragons?
So let me take this. And this is something Matt at Arms and I talked about in our review video. But it feels like Warrior has a split identity. It's almost like they started down one path, designing the Loa and the spirits, going, we're gonna go into this rush theme, and then halfway through they went, oh look, pretty dragons. Let's make dragons the primary arc for warriors, but they never committed to either one.
Hey, at least you have a direction.
So just hypothetical speaking, is it similar to maybe a situation? Maybe they gave warriors a mechanic like, I don't know, hand buff, and then they were like, "Ooh, pirates are cool."
Well, for that one, I think there was a more of a mistake of they really didn't know who, or they might have known who was in charge.
Yeah.
But apparently Garrosh also was in charge at that point in time.
So with Warrior during the mean streets, I think it suffered from the other classes, and really the hand buff mechanic. All three of the hand buff classes suffered during mean streets.
Yeah.
This is, I think with Warrior, it's a case of we can't give it a Dragon Loa because there isn't a Dragon Loa. So we need to give it a Loa that's Warrior-ish. Well, a Rhino armored seems Warrior-ish, but then they couldn't think of anything to pair with it. To me, that seems like a lack of imagination. So they're just like, dragons work, they're armored, there's a loose association, run with it.
Well, but I think this is kind of like the cap of the year of the Raven for Warrior and the whole rush mechanic, because they really introduced Warrior for the rush mechanic in Witchwood.
Right.
They expanded on it in Boomsday with Dr. Boom and a few other cards. And I think, okay, we can't give Warrior too much rush synergy, too much stuff that makes rush good or better without overbalancing the class. So let's go with a dragon theme, because Dragon Warrior back in the Whispers days was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, very.
So the fact that I think they kind of wanted to head that way, and the dragons they offered weren't tempo dragons. They're kind of mid-range to control dragons, which is weird. And Voon doesn't fit in any, and that's the other thing. Like, Voon doesn't fit anywhere. So I think, that was the problem with Warrior. And the fact that, but every other class has, like, Wamsamni, I have been playing a Surrender Priest. I have no idea what I'm doing with that deck. Like, it's the way I have it built, a bunch of 1-drops, Wamsamni, and mana manipulation. That deck is, I can't figure that out. I'm not smart enough. I'm not Zetalot. Like Warlock, I think they finally nailed the discard theme. I think Jeklik is insane, and I found out today she keeps any hand buffs when she discards.
Yeah, that's pretty sick.
That is absolutely sick. Hunter, I think, is top chicken. I think they're going to be ridiculous. I think Mage, sorry, Ajin-san, but Odd Mage is the most boring deck in the world to play.
I love Odd Mage.
Oh, it's so boring. And I think Shaman has so many ways to go, and I think Shaman's probably going to be the most surprising class that we get. I think Zentimo is ridiculous. I think the Frog is really good. So let's talk about that real quick. So we were talking about identity. So Warrior has a split personality, and Shaman doesn't really have an identity. But aside from those things, let's go broad 24-hour impression where you think the power rankings lie now that you've seen the cards in action. So I think we all pretty much in agreement that right now between Death Rattle Hunter, Spell Hunter, Aggro Hunter, and there was another hunter I saw earlier. I don't even remember what it was. But
there's a
really,
quest hunter out there too.
Yeah, that's what it was the quest hunter. Thank you. So with those four, at least three of them are at least tier 1 or mid tier 2. I think you don't go below mid tier 2 with Hunter, right? Would you say that from as far as like versatility and power rankings, it's
probably either in the running with Druid, if not right there, tied with it.
I don't know how much I would agree with that. I mean, okay, so Spell Hunter before yesterday was a maybe top tier 3 deck. It just couldn't compete with the other hunters. Mm-hmm. Spell Hunter really only got one card, well, 2 cards, Zul'jin and Baited Arrow. Now those 2 cards have dramatically increased the success rate of that deck. However, I think on paper, if you look at just raw numbers, Death Rattle / Recruit Hunter is still a better performing deck. And I think most people are doing the Spell Hunter right now because Death Rattle / Recruit Hunter has been so solid for so long. They just want to try something new. And I think give it a week or two, they're going to realize that Death Rattle Hunter is still the best deck and go back to it.
Oh yeah, I'm not arguing. I'm just saying Hunter as a class.
But I think Hunter as a class, including Death Rattle Hunter, just alone, it is one of the top classes in the meta, and probably will stay there. Though some of these new decks that literally popped up a couple hours ago, this very aggressive Pirate Rogue is just fast.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
You would because I got a list that was based off your list, so don't you deny it. I just thought I'd try it out, and that thing has fire.
Like I said,
it can draw dead, but it can draw really good.
It's not that I don't know how to aggro. I just don't have much use for it.
I got a turn 6 win because my opponent, who was a druid, had nothing they could do except spreading plague, and I had a bunch of buffed up pirates on the board, and I just played that Pirate Barrage card or whatever. Cannon Barrage. They're shooting a bunch of pirates out of the cannons or something. I don't know, but it wrecked. And what's great is I was like, well, if I could just soften up these taunts. Nope. Every one of those went to his face. They just went to the face, and he blew up. It was just sick.
So the Druid, I know Matt at Arms, earlier today, you came into the Discord and you said, "Oh my gosh, I've seen an Undertaker Druid list."
And I did too. Oh, I've seen the deck. I haven't seen the list.
And you put the list in our Discord, and when I saw it hit, I'm just like, all right, I've got the cards for it. I'm gonna see, see what's up with it. So I went and grabbed it and went out, and I actually did my Brawl Lyceum with it. So yeah, it's good. It's really fun.
It's a good deck. It's just it's acceptable if you were in a long value game and they silence the Undertaker.
Yeah,
that deck shuts down. The polymorph, even if they polymorph one of the death rattles, that deck shuts down.
So you have to draw that stuff out. So my biggest losses came to Shaman. There was so much odd mage out there, though I didn't have to worry about polymorph with the odd mage. So I think Druid and Hunter and Warlock are top 3 because that Discord lock is sick. Even lock is still really good. I saw several Q blocks out there today. Would you say that those are your top 3 classes right now that you could?
I think Warlock.
As far as like deck versatility.
I think Warlock is in a weird place. I don't think Zoo's any good. I don't think Q Block's not good enough right now, and Even Lock's not. I haven't even tried Even Lock yet.
Well, Zoo right now is suffering because of odd big spell mage. Mage. Because if they can't throw out a turn 1 imp because it's just going to get burned down by the mage, all the early turns 1 through 3 plays get burned. So it's suffering right now because of that. But I think that odd big spell mage is a fad. There's actually a list that Jackie Chan's running of just a classic big spell mage. It has in Jan'alai and actually Malakras, and I crafted Malakras for it. It's actually a really good list. It's a good deck, and it plays like classic, a big spell mage with a little bit more sustained at the top end.
So I watched AKA Wonder play that in the Inn-vitational today, and he actually, I think he burned his Jan'alai because of his
Malakras?
Malakras.
I mean, that just shows how even the pro players are novices with that deck. I mean, you can mess up with it. The hand size is a concern with it. Why a lot of people are running the Astromancer.
Yeah.
Astronomancer.
I saw that list too. So do you think the overkill mechanics may have a little bit with Zeus struggles as well?
Absolutely. I think the fact that a lot of the overkill target areas, I think, baited arrow is just like
sick.
It's just sick, and like anything
Ridiculous.
with like 2 health, like I had somebody like Ziliax, one of my minions, and I'm like, okay, I'll just baited arrow that and make a 5/5 from your 5 mana card. So it's like, I think, it's overkill. I think the only one I've really used is baited arrow. Blast Wave, or I haven't really got that much value off it. Sulthuraz, I haven't even tried Warrior yet. It's next on my list, but I didn't get a lot of the good Warrior cards, so
I didn't get any.
So, I think, but just finding these cool synergies, like the fact that with this Undertaker Druid we were talking about, where it's the 3/5 shuffle back into your deck and Hadronox, or your only 2 death rattles, and then you have Undertaker basically be Hadronox that goes back into your deck forever, and you cut Witching Hour, and all of a sudden the deck is just value gross disgustingness. Just so like even like I might go for an Undertaker Paladin with Tyrion and the 1/3. It's like one of those things I might work towards, so I can have that weapon forever. It's just there's cool synergies. And I don't think that a lot has been explored yet, and I think any calls on the meta now in my opinion, are way too early. But I do think the meta will tend to be more aggressive. I think we'll see cards like Mojo Master start to come in to a lot of the aggro decks just to shut down some of the late game value plays. And I think we might be into a turn 7, turn 8 aggro meta, which I'm perfectly fine with. I'm sick of big, boring value meta like we had like in the last deck we played before this episode.
I will say there's a lot of excitement when I play. I had a hunter who got a Zentimo off of his Wandering Monster and baited arrow my Paladin board for 3 Devil Swords.
Yeah, that'll do. So I'm looking at my stats, and I mean, you're right. Coming into this meta previously, pull that up real quick. My average game was 14.3 minutes, and over the last 24 hours, my average game has been 6.8 minutes.
So there you go.
I don't know. Maybe it's the decks I'm playing. I am playing Holy Wrath OTK Paladin. A lot of my games are running good 15, 20 minutes long. Yeah. But again, I don't play aggro, and I usually play very hyper greedy, aggressive against aggro.
I can't wait to start rocking your face.
I was getting ready to say.
Smork.
So that deck you were talking about, that you were saying that you pulled earlier, that you did your list off of Zeroshia, that deck's average time is 5.3 minutes, 6.7 turns.
Well, I can believe that.
And it's got an 80% win rate right now.
Mad at Arms list is the one I finally settled on, and yeah, that is
the pirate rogue. Yeah, that deck is
sick. Those toxicologists make that deck so good.
Actually, going back to that list, you know what shocked the heck out of me? How good it was. walk the plank.
Yeah.
Like, holy crap, that was a 4-mana assassinate, but you know what? 4-mana assassinate's pretty good.
Yeah.
And the other one is the what is that one where you get 2 pirates and combo get a weapon?
Boarding party.
Boarding party is
That-
ridiculous.
I mean, prep into boarding party and
Yeah.
then load your board up. It's sick.
That card is so good.
And
So-
makes Kingbane an aggro card, which
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey,
Aggro Kingsbane Rogue.
what did I say?
Kingsbane Pirate Rogue.
Kingsbane Rogue was a problem to begin with.
But wasn't I saying Kingsbane for like 3 weeks leading up to this expansion?
yep.
You were. And
You have a
I
tendency to be right.
I have abandoned my hyper aggro priest because that deck does everything my hyper aggro priest wants to do, but better.
Which, so even if you don't necessarily like aggro, isn't getting to a cannon barrage your opponent with 4 pirates on the board, isn't that just awesome?
And here's the thing, that specific aggro deck doesn't play like a. I mean, there are a lot of really important decisions you have to make.
Mm-hmm.
When to go face, when to let your opponent trade their minions in, because every bit of damage you can do to the face, it just softens them up for that cannon barrage. And now I didn't draw cannon barrage that often because I think there's just a 1 of in my list, but it'd be too heavy for 2 of. But
Well,
I'm telling
I
you,
run too.
Well, when you know, usually by the time I get to Cannon Barrage, they're dead anyway. So it's one of those.
Yeah,
I think
I
you know,
mean,
it's
it's
just
kind of
out
a
there.
win
It's
for
just
us.
out there. It's a little win more, but it's fine. You know, and you know, it feels bad when it's sitting in your hand and they clear your stuff out. So
and it when
Hey,
I
I've
started
cannon
playing-
barraged for 3.
when I first started playing Hearthstone back in beta, one of the most wonderful sounds I ever heard was Leroy Jenkins, and I get to hear it again.
and again and again and again.
Yeah. So there you go. Like we said earlier, our class reviews will be out over the course of the next 3 weeks. So if you guys
And
want
watch
a
us
little
be
more,
wrong.
yeah, if you guys want a little more in depth of us talking about the cards, these were all done pre-release. So you know you'll get our unfiltered talking about the cards. So enjoy that. Moving on, the Rastakhans Rumble Inn-vitational happened today. We got to see Ali Straza versus I always mispronounce his name. Dione, yeah. Samuel Sal versus Centilal, a.k.a. Wonder versus Blood Trail, and RHD Gerwins versus Dog. So
Yes.
I only got to see a couple of these matches because I was at work. Go ahead, Zeroshio.
So a couple highlights. Ali Strauss ended up reverse sweeping the Dione, and the Samuel Centilol match was, if you looked at if you just watched the ending interview with Centilol, you think he just blew him out, but it was very, very close. Some high level play. I didn't get to catch much of the Aqua Wonder Blood Trail match. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Blood Trail won that. But the Dog match with Rudger wins. Dog is just on another level. I've come to just realize that everybody is just playing this game to try to eventually be as precise and skilled as Dog. Dog may not have the huge resume of competitive levels. A lot of that is possibly on, maybe meta choices when it comes to his queue order and things like that. But when it comes to just skilled, high-level play with a very detailed deck and figuring these type of mathematical equations out in heartbeats, he played a priest deck today that, as we know, Dog made that whole test subject OTK with Boar combo, and a lot of other pro players and streamers have tried it and just could not pilot it mechanically. Dog did the same combo using the new Akanai minion and regenerate to basically load up the test subject with a bunch of regenerates, kill it with topsy-turvy, get a bunch of regenerates in the hand, put out the Akanai minion, and just go face with a bunch of regenerates before the rope can burn out. And literally when he got done, he's literally covering his mouth like he's not even sure if he was successful. And the casters the whole time are like, did he do it? Did he do it? Did he miss something? Or we can't tell. His facial expressions are showing us nothing. And he's like covering his mouth up like he's watching it, doing the math. And you see his eyes literally shooting back and forth like he's mathematically trying to figure out, did I pull this off? And he did. And it's brilliant. And I think you're going to see guys like Disguised Toast and Brian Kibler try these decks and fail horribly. And I cannot wait for the next week when people do that.
You know, his opponent that match looked like he was in pain. I mean, I felt really bad for him. And it was like the pressure of the world was on his shoulders. I don't know. I was walking by. This was the match I watched the least amount of because I had other stuff going on. And I may or may not have fallen asleep at the end of the blood draw.
And I didn't catch the end of it because I was traveling home.
But I walked by and I looked, and like I just felt bad for him. I just like that is somebody who is not having the best day of their life.
Well, if you think about it, your region hasn't been that successful in competitive Hearthstone over the last few years. Only recently has it gotten a little bit of limelight in HGG, and you're put on a big stage. And Rutger wins while it's competitive. He's not really been on these highlighted invitational stages that often, and he's basically told you're going to get to come, show your stuff, see, kind of make a name for yourself, and then you have to play the mathematical genius that is Dog. And that had to be in his head a little bit, especially when he saw the deck lists and going, I can't even plan how to stop this because I don't even know how you can do it.
You're not wrong.
So, yeah, if you haven't had a chance, go watch it. I'm going to go back and watch some of the matches I missed just because, it sounds like it was a lot of fun. This week's Tavern Brawl is the Brawliseum. So I know these guys really enjoy it. Welcome back, Gladiator. Build a deck for standard format and compete for glorious prizes. So you guys know the Brawliseum. It's 150 to get in after your first one. Is that right? Just like Arena.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, go play, have some fun, take some crazy decks. Who knows? Maybe somebody could go in and just play Whizbang.
Maybe. I will say that I've seen in a few other Discords that people were like, I only got one win, I only got 2 wins, and then I saw somebody shouted me out in the Coin Concede Discord, say, well, just bring Whizbang. Zoroshio did and got 4 wins. Now, 4 wins isn't astronomical, but the fact that I was playing a Whizbang deck, I had one person spectating me, and I played my game, play a Whizbang deck. Next game, I get a different Whizbang deck. And then the next game, I get a different Whizbang deck. And I get a message, I thought you could only use one deck. I'm using Whizbang. They're like, that's a bad idea. I said, well, I'm 2-0. And I'm currently in my 3rd game. So, sure.
Yeah. So there you go.
And I'm currently in my 2nd Whizbang set, and I am 2-0 again.
There you go. So go have some fun with this brawl while you can. So, all right. So, guys, the last couple weeks I have mentioned to you about this service called Game Flip Gigs. if you guys are interested, you go to gameflip.com/gigs. You sign up for the beta, and once in, you can then set your gig. So, like, you could say, hey, I'm here for Hearthstone tutoring, or I'm here to help you build a new Rastakhans Rumble deck that will get you to rank 10, and then you set your price, and then GameFlip Gigs will match you with someone who's looking for your similar skill set, and you can make some money. Now, during the beta, all gigs that you do will earn you a 10% bonus on top of whatever you charge. So if you charge $10 for a gig, you'll get a free dollar on top of that. So it's a great way to make a little side money if you enjoy the game and you want to help other people get better. So go check it out over at gameflip.com/gigs. Make sure when you sign up, you tell them you heard about it on Hero Power. So, all right, guys, we talked about we're not going to have a deck analysis this week. We are instead going to look at the neutral cards for Rastakhans Rumble. So let's go ahead and get switched up over here. And all right, so I guess, do you guys have anything you want to talk about before we jump into this neutral card review?
Well, before we get into the actual card review, I have to comment on how beautiful the slide presentation. Just looking at this first slide here, the gorgeous, gorgeous slide presentation, and whoever worked on that obviously toiled some.
Well, I appreciate it because I worked on this for quite a while. You know, I've actually been working on this, trying to get it just right for tonight. So, thank you, Zeroshio.
For all the years I've taken credit for your work, I'll let you have that one.
No, Zeroshio did the card reviews.
So what the viewers don't know is that, or at least don't know yet, is that when Zeroshio's card was up here, when he was reviewing something, his ability was self-promotion.
Yeah.
And his death rattle was take credit for Avanti's work.
That's right.
So, all right. So let's move right on into our Rastakhans Rumble card review for the neutral cards, and we're going to kick this off in the legendary category. First up, Hakar the Soul Flayer. 10 mana, 9/6, Death Rattle, shuffle a Corrupted Blood into each player's deck. Versika, we'll start with you.
Oh, you would have to give me this one. Okay, so someone smarter than me is going to have to figure out where this goes, because I'll look at it and I just don't see anything that fits into anything that I have done or want to do in Hearthstone. So I hate to see cards in the 10 mana slot that just sit there in your collection and don't do anything. But
they still do things, I promise.
I mean, you know, this one is one of those where I don't really see where it fits right now. I hope somebody figures something out, because the artwork is pretty cool.
Well, Zeroshio's got a big grin on his face. So how does it work, Zeroshio?
So this is going to be the bane of, did we read what it was?
10 mana, 9/6, Death Rattle, shuffle a Corrupted Blood into each player's deck.
That's right. So this is going to be the bane of the ladder come probably January, when the meta starts to get a little kind of stale and people start coming up with crazy things to do with crazy cards. There's already a deck that is really, really, really strong, and we're going to talk about another legendary here in a little bit that goes in that deck. And it was played today. It was played today on the Inn-vitational. Now, I didn't see this card in the deck, but it gave me the idea that this would go perfect in a Quest Druid Giants deck.
Interesting.
Imagine being able to Hakar this out for 0 mana and then proceed to naturalize, make your opponent draw a lot. You've developed a bunch of armor in the meantime, and it's basically at that point Russian roulette, but your big minions are 0 cost.
You talking about Barnabas?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think
Okay.
this card's bad.
I'm with Matt. This card's just bad.
This guy maybe in a Togwaggle. I think this card's bad.
Oh, maybe in a Togwaggle.
All right, moving on.
What do you think of Bonnie's?
I agree with Matt. I don't like this card at all. I think it's bad, and we'll have to see.
It's bad, but bad can be good.
It's bad.
Moving on. All right. So we have probably one of the most hopped cards in the set, and that is Undasta.
Now, Zeroshio, this is what a good card looks like.
Undasta is a 9-mana 7/7 rush with Overkill. Summon a beast from your hand. And because of that statement, Zeroshio, I'm going to let you go first.
So I have not had a chance to play with this card because I did not open it, and I am getting a little limited on my crafting because I crafted cards like Shrivala. So I've seen this played quite a bit. It's also is a card that's really good in the Quest Druid that was played today in the Invitational. And this card did actually see some play today. This card just allows for some great tempo. For 9 mana 7/7, you can rush out and overkill something. Usually there's something on the board. At 7/7, you're going to overkill something. And then you get another really big beast out of your hand. Obviously, you need to build your deck properly, but anytime you can cheat out a minion, this style of play can open up combo potential or any kind of way to get an unfair advantage against your opponent, even for one turn.
Yeah, I built this. I actually crafted this guy. This card, I think, is probably one of the best neutral legendaries in the set. I think this one is probably, like I said, one of the best neutral legendaries in the set. And I think it's anything that wants to pull beasts out for free will want to play this, like Druid, Hunter for sure. Actually, this can pull out your Loa if you really, really wanted to, like say in Paladin. If you're not running any spells and you have a 25 mana card in your hand for some reason. So, yeah, I think this card's super good.
And I remember fondly many, many, many wipes on Undasta in World of Warcraft. So,
all right, Forsika, thoughts?
So I will say that the card is good. Like Matt at Arm said, it's probably one of the best neutral legendaries in the set. Combined with a card that I got woefully wrong on our card ranking spreadsheet, Stampeding Roar, this card is amazing. So earlier today, I used Stampeding Roar, pulled this out of my hand, and overkilled something on the board with his rush mechanic, and then pulled Tyrantus out of my hand. It's really good when it happened. And that was on turn 6. Which was my opponent's turn 4. Because Druid.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I'm really hyped about this card. I'm glad I pulled it. It's one less I have to craft. I am definitely going to revisit a version of Katharina Recruit Hunter.
Oh God.
And this will make it in that list and should be a lot of fun. So, all right, moving on. We have the Grifta, 4 mana, 4/5 battle cry. Discover 2 cards. Give one of them to your opponent at random. Matt at Arms. We'll start with you this time.
This card it's kind of bad. There's some application to it. You can pick 2 cards, and while one of them might have synergy with you, the other one, actually will both have synergy with you. The other one, the one that goes to your opponent, may not have any synergy with them, so they just get a dead card. But otherwise, it's a Yeti that draws you maybe a card. I don't know. It's probably like I gave it probably a 1 on this sheet, and yeah, I haven't seen anything degenerate with this, so I don't think it will see that much play.
I think the best thing about this card is the cute little kitten he's trying to sell out of his jacket.
That's about
See the little kitten that he's trying to pawn off? I think that's so cute. No, this is a horrible card.
Rastakhan.
So, I think this card has potential. Not in this year. So, I think when the set rotates and the 4 spot, which right now is very crowded with good cards that are going to be rotating. So when we did the spreadsheet for power rankings, one of the things that I did for this set that I didn't do for the others is I went into each cost and I looked at what was rotating out so that I knew going into April what would be vacating and what was going to fill that power vacuum. Because Witchwood was pretty low on the power rankings, and Boomsday I think was surprisingly low on the power rankings. So in the 4 spot, there's not really a lot that is set to replace things like Serenite Chain Gang. So the 4/5, I mean, Yeti used to be a good card in that slot. We're losing Corpse Taker, we're losing Serenite Chain Gang, things that right now are filling that slot. The ability to discover 2 cards and then pick the one that you want, I mean, it's basically tracking built into a Yeti.
Yeah,
Well, you
I'd
don't
rather
get to
play
pick
Yeti.
the one you want. It randomly gives you one of the 2 that you picked.
Well, when I played it earlier today, I got to pick it. Because
So you pick 2
unfortunately,
cards, and you could pick 2 cards, and one of them goes to one of them at random goes to the opponent. So you might have got lucky, but yeah, this is like Yeti stats with a meh effect.
so unfortunately for me, I actually have this on all 3 of my accounts. It was
Ugh.
it was the
Wow.
first legendary that I pulled off my other 2 accounts, and like my second legendary I pulled at the pre-release. So, yeah.
Yeah,
fun.
so for me, this card is a card I would play, like Zeroshio said, come February when the meta's getting stale and I want to build a deck around a theme of I just pick any card from my hand, throw it out there, and wait for it to see what it does, because every card in the deck will center around the word random.
So okay.
So now I'm just going to have to beat you down with this card. I
just had an epiphany while Versika was talking. So there's a lot of combo and very slow greedy decks out there, and burning a card can be detrimental. This puts a card your opponent wasn't expecting into their hand. Okay?
Would you know what it is?
And you know what it is. But if they have 9 cards in their hand, that's a lot of people were putting Mukla into some of their decks to do this, to put the 2 bananas in their hands so that it could possibly burn a card or 2. Now, furthermore, imagine if you're playing, say, Rogue and you're playing with Grifta and you discover a poison, the poison blade, not the
Curse blade?
No, the spell that gives you +2 to your weapon.
Deadly poison.
Deadly poison. And you give you roll the 50-50 dice to try to give your opponent the deadly poison, which they cannot use. And they're playing a Mechathune deck.
That's true.
If they're Mechathune Priest, they have no way to cast that spell. They can't pull off their combo.
Interesting.
So I'm changing.
Very fringe case.
Very fringe.
If the meta specifically needs something like this, if Mecha'thun Priest becomes degenerate and people are playing it, this could be teched in to possibly put a wrench in that. Again, it's not even as reliable as giving somebody bananas.
Well, so Odd Mage, right? So Odd Mage, you use Black Cats.
Well, this puts it in their hands, so it wouldn't affect Black Cats. Black Cat only looks
That's
at the
right.
deck.
Because that only looks at the deck.
Yeah.
All right. So moving from what is possibly one of the worst cards to what is possibly one of the better cards, the Undertaker, 8 mana, 8/5, Battle Cry. Gain the death rattle effects of 3 friendly minions that died this game. Versika, we'll start with you this time.
Okay, so in the decks that this card works in, it is absolutely fantastic. Taunt Druid, auto include. And earlier, Matt at Arms was talking about putting it in with a Paladin.
It's also really good at Whizbang's Death Rattle Rogue recipe deck.
Okay, so
Sure.
you've got 2 decks where I see it being viable and one where it's okay. Outside of that, it's an 8 mana 8/5. So I'm going to say that it's a fringe card that is a very good fringe card. It's only going to see play in a couple of decks. But the decks that it's in, if you don't have a silence for it, you're going to pay for that. So I like cards like this. They have a very specific purpose. They're very powerful. You play them at a very particular moment. You have to be careful when you play them, and you have to pull resources out from your opponent so that it doesn't punish the play, but it's not going to see play in every deck. I wish there were more cards in Hearthstone like this one.
So Zeroshio kind of has that Lee Corso look on his face, like he wants to go, not so fast, my friend. Go ahead, Zeroshio.
I was just going to say, this has the best flavor text of any card.
Yeah,
really
is that your review?
you
That's my
squandered
review. I
my
like this card.
setup. Ah.
I like this card. It has the best flavor. If you don't know the flavor text, go read it. It's the largest flavor text I've seen on a card. It's great.
All right, Matt, take it away.
This is the first card I opened in my first 20 packs, and this is my first 10 packs, and this is probably like one of my favorite build arounds. I think it might reach the fate of it might be just a tad slow. Like, it may not be fast enough for anything right now, but as long as there's degenerate death rattles that can repeat themselves, I think this will be see play somewhere. I think this card's really good.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this card as well. From what I've seen it played so far, like it's just been tempo change and control, and I've loved everything I've seen about this card so far. So
In Taunt Druid, it wrecks things.
yes,
It's ridiculous. Taunt Druid. It's just infinite value.
Yeah.
So all right.
It's not silenced.
Moving on to our last legendary of the neutral set, Mojo Master Zihi. It's a 6 mana 5/5 with a battle cry. Set each player to 5 mana crystals. So I'm going to start this time because I have been on the receiving end of this thing. At the pre-release, he was in one of the recipe decks, and I was playing against my opponent. I'm looking at my hand. It's like turn 9. I know exactly what I'm gonna do to set up to win the game. And down comes Mojo Master Zihi, sets me back to 5 mana crystals, completely wrecks my next couple of turns, and I'm just like, I had no what to do. I'm like, drag out this card. You don't have enough mana. What? Oh! So this card played strategically can absolutely wreck you if you plan your turns ahead the way I do. Go ahead, Zeroshio.
So this card is sneaky good. I kept seeing this, and I opened this. I think it was my second legendary I opened, And I was like, this doesn't look good. And my buddy Slow Madman was sitting next to me, and he said, that card is broken. So what are you talking about? And of course I'm streaming, so I was like, we'll talk about it later. And so I kept looking at the card going, what's he seeing that's so broken this? What's he seeing that's so broken? So on the car ride home, he tells me, what's the top end mana in most aggro decks? Like probably like 6. Sometimes 5, but usually like 6. Zoo is usually at 6 mana. A lot of times you might top end at Leroy Jenkins at 6 mana. And he says, yeah. So when do you lose the game? I was like, well, if you get in late game against Control, when they can use their late game stuff, that's when you lose. If you can't kill them by turn 7 or 8, then you're pretty much locked out. He goes, what if you could keep somebody from throwing down Frostlich Jaina or throwing down Gul'dan? He says, when it's getting to that part of the game, just reset the mana back to 5. Your entire deck is still playable, and all of their top end is dead cards in their hand.
Yeah.
I think every aggro deck's going to run this.
Yeah. This card, in my opinion, is Loatheb 2.0.
Oh yeah, definitely
better than OG Loatheb, in my opinion, because it's the effect lingers.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's 1 mana more, but the turn, instead of just for lasting 1 turn, it also affects every card in their hand, not just their spells. This card is ridiculous.
Play this on turn 8 with a 2 mana bouncer back to your hand for the 3 turns later.
Yeah, this card's good.
So I was playing. I run this in my aggro shaman deck already. I was playing against Druid today. I kept the coin and him in my opening hand because I was playing against Druid. And they were on turn 9 when I got on to turn 5. And I coined him out and pulled him all the way back down to 5.
It's nuts.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And
I won the game off of that.
I will be the first to admit I missed the mark on this card because I know I rated this pretty low in our pre-release rankings just because I didn't see it in action beforehand, and I know I missed the mark on this.
Okay, so Mad at Arms actually got this one right at 4. I rated it at 2. Zeroshio rated it at 2. You, Avantes, rated it a 4.
Oh, okay. Maybe
It might be a 5.
confused with something else. Yeah, but
I don't know if it's a 5, but it's definitely a solid 4. And I missed the mark on this one.
So
well, there was only one player that did our rating sheet that rated it a 5. It's Aegon.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
He's a good guy. Yeah, I know him.
all right. So moving into the epics, we start with Crowd Roaster. It's a 7 mana 7/4 dragon with a battle cry. If you're holding a dragon, deal 7 damage to an enemy minion. So it's a body with 7 points of spot removal. Man at Arms, I'll let you start.
I was not very high on this card, if I remember correctly. I was gave it a 3. Yeah, I gave it a 3. I think it's okay. It's not great. It works in dragon decks, and that 4. The thing is, like, the 7 attacks a lot, but that 4 health is way low for this card for 7 mana. I think this card is very okay. I think I don't think it'll like break anything, but I think it's a very solid card for a deck that dragon deck that you want to play. That's kind of where I'm at with it.
Okay, Zeroshio?
I'm a firm believer that this is a solid card. I rated it also a 3. 3 to me is that card that in the right deck, you're just going to go, I need to put this in here. And in a dragon deck, specifically Dragon Warrior, it's one of your key dragons you want in the deck. It's solid removal. It can even get rid of a Lich King with just a little bit more help. 1 more point of damage. It can help get rid of those mountain giants. It is solid removal. I I don't even consider this the 7/4 body. I mean, yeah, it only has 4 health, but the thing is you're going to take out a big minion, and they will have to invest another card in the form of a minion or a spell or something to remove this.
So you see it as a 7 mana, 7 direct damage.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. And maybe 7 mana, 7 direct damage, and make your opponent discard a card because they have to invest something else into it.
Okay. Versika.
Actually, I'm right there with Zeroshia on that assessment. I feel like this is an auto-include in Dragon Warrior because it does something that Warrior struggles to do, and that is directly damage something without using your face. 7 damage is enough to take out 90% of the minions in Hearthstone. And then they have to put something else into it to take it out. And the 4 toughness for a lot of classes that use weapons, that makes them seriously consider whether to use their face on it or not. And I mean, if you can deal 7 damage to a minion, and then if it even hits face 1 time, that's a 14-point damage swing. So, I mean, I think in Dragon Warrior, it's an auto-include. If Dragon Priest ends up coming along, I'm not so sure that you would rather have it than some of the other removal cards that Priest has as an option. But what's the one thing that Priest struggles to deal with? 4 attack minions. So, in a Dragon Priest, it once again gives you something that you just don't normally have, a way to deal with a pesky minion. So, in a Dragon deck, I think it's at least a 1-of. Otherwise, it's a Ren. It is Ren Blackhand.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That's a good assessment.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So next we have the Untamed Beastmaster. It's a 3 mana, 3/4. Whenever you draw a beast, give it +2/+2. So I like this card again in a Beast Hunter or some flavor of. This card is either going to A, make your beasts pretty big, or B, it's going to draw out immediate removal so that it can't make your stuff big. It's almost like a dual threat, and 3 mana for a 3/4 body is just really good anyway.
Yeah.
So Versika, what's your thoughts on Untamed Beastmaster?
So I actually have this in a deck that isn't Druid and isn't Hunter.
Wow.
But it's the only deck I have it in. I think this will eventually be figured out. I think somebody will figure out a way to abuse this. Right now, I am trying to abuse it in something you don't normally see it in. But it's a fringe card at best. I mean, 3 for a 3/4 is not bad, but you gotta be playing beast that you know you're gonna be either depending on, or that you're gonna draw a lot of. And like you said, it's kill on sight, so it's gonna require setup. It's taking up a 3 slot, which is a pretty important slot in the meta game that we've been in. Whether it continues to be an important spot is yet to be seen. But I think someone will probably end up using this in a like a quest hunter. But I don't know outside of that if it will see much.
Yeah, I think this is a solid card. I gave it a 3. I think Quest Hunter's kind of probably the obvious home for it. There's also that new Hunter spell that discovers a beast in your deck. Draw all 3 if they're all beasts. That would be huge to play with this.
Master's Call, I think.
Yeah, Master's Call, yeah. So, I mean, it has some real good potential. I don't think it's groundbreaking, but I think it's in a beast-centric deck. To me, it's an auto-include.
All right, Matt.
Yeah, this This card's like, yeah, it's a fringe card that makes a deck better. And the deck that it's in, I don't think, or the deck that it's for doesn't exist yet. I think it's a solid card, and I think it has some application, but like we've discussed already. But I think it's okay. It's not great.
All right, moving on. We've got the Masked Contender, 3 mana, 2/4 with a battle cry. If you control a secret, play a secret from your deck.
So I'm gonna go first.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you that I was completely wrong about this card. It's a lot better than I thought it was, and Versika's right.
What is Versika right about?
We'll let Versika tell you that.
Okay, go ahead, Versika.
So Matter Arms rated this card a 1.
Yep.
Zeroshio a 2. You rated it a 3. I rated it a 4 because this card is busted as hell. Secret Hunter is a thing, and turn 2 secret into turn 3 Mass Contender. You got a 2/4 on the board. You got another secret that you didn't have to cast in play, but it's a neutral, so you can use it with Rogue. You can use it with Mage. It's busted.
Yeah, the one thing I want to point out on this is this card alone makes you want to pop a secret onto. A lot of times if you have just nothing like a Silverhand Recruit, you're like, I'm going to hold off popping this secret because sure, I want to pop the Explosive Trap, but if it's Wandering Monster, then I'm messed up. So I'm not going to run my minion in. Then he throws down Mass Contender on turn 3, and you regret that decision.
Yeah, I still don't see it with this card. I saw Firebat was playing it yesterday a little bit, and a Secret Hunter. I don't think at turn 3 you have better things you want to do in Secret Hunter still. And I think that, I don't know, maybe because I haven't opened it, I haven't played with it yet. So maybe it's one of those, like, okay, it's on my to-do list to play. But I think this, it's basically Mad Scientist with a battle cry. So, okay, I can see the application. I just don't think this is, my thing is I don't think it's aggressive enough for the Secret Hunter deck, in my opinion.
I will say that the art for this is amazing. I just love the idea of luchador trolls.
So where you're really where this card is going to be, its most busted is going to be in Tempo Mage, which I predict is going to make a comeback.
All right.
All right. So moving on, we have the Line Cracker, 7 mana, 5/10. When it overkills, double this minion's attack. So if it attacks something with 4 or less, kills it, it becomes a 10/10. So, Matt, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on Line Cracker?
I think this card is way too slow to see any play in Constructed. There's no way other than Rocket Boots really to give it rush to make the attack double as fast as possible. I think, it's a really solid arena pick, but outside of that, I think, this card, even though the stats are pretty vanilla for 5/10 for 7, that's pretty good. I don't think it has any application in any deck that I have seen pop up in the last few days.
Yeah, this card's bad. Ancient of War is a 7 mana 5/10 that can have Taunt or a 10/5 if you uproot it, and it doesn't see play anymore. Since like
ever
since GVG came out, it saw play. So if you're not playing Ancient of War and Druid, then you're not going to play this card.
Versika?
I agree with Matt. If you see this in Arena and you need top end, it's worth a look. But outside of that, I think this is a card that just doesn't have enough going for it.
Okay. It's just too slow, I think, to be useful. Could be wrong. Could see it maybe in the future in some form of a druid where they ramp up early quick. But right now, I don't think it has any real applications. The next up, we have the Moshog Announcer. It's a 5-mana 6/5. Enemies attacking this have a 50% chance to attack someone else. As with the other ogres in the past that have had the 50% chance abilities on them, I think this card will see play in the arena, and that's about all.
I agree 100%.
So my initial review on this said the same thing. This is different than the other ogres, where the other ogres, their 50% chances when they attack, and not when something is attacking them. So I have had some pro players and streamers say that this card is sneaky good. If you have a slot in your 5 slot where you just need a good solid minion, it's good because it has pseudo stealth that your opponent doesn't know it has stealth, but only 50% of the time. So I don't think that it's a good card, but I expect people to start playing with it when some big solid mid game minions are needed. And in the right mid range deck, this might be good, but my initial review is that it's bad, but I could be wrong.
It's bad. It's good in arena, but it's good in an arena situation. But there's so much synergy, and this doesn't have any other synergy. So yeah, I think it's bad.
I think it's bad even for arena.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to wait and see, but I don't see it being played outside of there. Moving on, we have the Snapjaw Shell Fighter. It's a 5-mana 3/8. Whenever an adjacent minion takes damage, this minion takes it instead. So this is sort of like that legendary minion we had a while back. So, it takes the damage instead of something else.
It took the damage instead of you.
Instead of you. This takes the damage instead of another minion. So, I feel like, it's taunt adjacent, I guess. It doesn't actually have taunt, but it kind of does. As long as they're not attacking your face. So
here's the problem with this card is if the adjacent minions are smaller attack than it, your opponent's just going to attack into those minions to kill this one. Because why attack into the 3/8 when you can attack into the 1/2 but do your damage to the 3/8? So
you're basically giving your opponent cleave on this guy.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't hurt that minion that it's attacking, but basically, yes.
It's like diet cleave.
I just don't think it's gonna. I mean, I've looked at this card trying to find some way diet cleave, kind of like that Diet France. Anyways, too soon. Anyways, I wanted to look at this card and find the right application for it, but it's too clunky. It's not good. Not good in arena, not good in constructed. It's not good at all.
Yeah, I was high on this card. I think this opens up for something like that you can have high attack, low health minions drop this in between them, and then you can kind of punch. You can they have to punch this instead of punch those, and then you continue to value trade those high attack, low health minions. But I haven't seen it anywhere. I haven't seen it do a whole lot yet. I think there's still some time for this card, so I gave it I think a 3 or a 2. I forget, but I think it's solid.
All right, guys.
So unless you want to play Magma Ragers or Dust Devils,
we need to start accelerating here, don't we?
Yeah, that's what I was just getting ready to say. I just realized we've still got 23 cards to go through, so we need to step it up
Well, most of these are pretty bad.
Yeah. So, moving on, we have the Ice Cream Peddler. 4-mana 3/5 Battle Cry. If you control a frozen minion, gain 8 armor.
Starts bad.
Bad. All right. Gurubashi Offering. 1-mana 0/2. At the start of your turn, destroy this and gain 8 armor.
Bad. And I pulled 4 of these.
Oh my god.
Well, that's dust. That's 100 dust.
It was.
Yeah. So then you got the Drakari Trickster. 3 mana, 3/4. Give each player a copy of a random card from their opponent's deck.
Meh.
This card helped me win a game because my opponent played.
I actually like this card.
Yeah.
So
It's bad.
all right. Then you got Murloc Tasty Fin. 4 mana, 3/2. Death Rattle. Draw 2 Murlocs from your deck. Do we think this could go in some form of Murloc Mage?
Well, I mean, if you're playing Murlocs, it's worth considering. Outside of that, no.
Yeah, that's about it.
This set didn't get much Murloc support. If it had more Murloc support, maybe next set.
Okay.
Just not in Shaman.
Yeah. The Belligerent Gnome. 2 mana, 1/4 taunt. Battle Cry. If your opponent has 2 or more minions, gain +1 attack. 2 mana, 2/4 with taunt. I like it.
Solid.
You gave it a 4.
You have to be losing for this to be good, and I think that's what makes it bad.
Yeah.
It's not great.
It's okay. Like
It's
Matt at Arms said, you got to be losing to really get the full benefit of it.
And it doesn't make you win enough.
All right. The Wada Boy. 2 mana, 2/1. Battle Cry. Your next hero power this turn costs 0.
Trash.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Fire Tree Witch Doctor. 2 mana, 2/2. Battle Cry. If you're holding a dragon, discover a spell.
I was
actually
wrong about this
Don't
card.
mind this card.
I was wrong about this card. Avantes was right about this card. For last time I'm ever saying that. This card played against me, and I started playing with it. It's very good. You can get some solid, especially if you're playing in Warrior. You can get some good, solid spells off of it.
I think it's okay. I think you can get some good spells, but every time it's been played against me, I think they've gotten something very underwhelming. So I think a 3 is about right. If it goes in Dragon decks, that's about it.
I like it. I think it's good.
Okay. Soup Vendor. 2 mana, 1/4. Whenever you restore 3 or more health to your hero, draw a card. I don't
No
like
soup
this
for
card.
No,
Yeah,
it's
No
just
soup for
bad.
you.
Three mana, 3 health at one time is pretty high. If it was 2, then it'd probably be.
The only thing I could see this going in is that new Healadin deck.
It's about
I
it.
think you're right. Yeah,
But there's better things to do with 2 mana in that deck anyway.
Yeah.
exactly.
All right. Shield Breaker. 2 mana, 2/1. Battle Cry. Silence an enemy minion with taunt.
It's good.
In the
but
right
not
meta,
great.
it's going to be really, really good. If
Mm-hmm.
decks are relying on solid taunts, not only taunts, but taunts with death rattles, taunts with overkill. This is going to be a good card.
Yeah, I think it's solid. I think the fact, it's going to be anytime you want to silence anything in an aggro deck, you want to silence taunt mostly, and I think that's enough for this to be good at 2 mana.
I agree. Reminds me of a very specific Hoot Hoot. Like, it can only silence the taunts, but hey, you still probably run it.
We all rated that at 3, so.
Yeah. Serpent Ward. 2 mana, 0/2. At the end of your turn, deal 2 damage to the enemy hero.
I love this card.
Not me.
You're the only one.
This goes in even Shaman. It might as well say in an aggro deck. It might as well say it's a 2/2 charge, because that first turn you're getting that 2 damage, and that's all you really care about. And if they don't kill it, which they should, then you could put a Flame Tongue around it. You could do something to buff it, but it's guaranteed 2 damage for 2 mana. That's good.
Yeah,
I think
I'm
it's
not a fan.
situational.
I'm not a big fan of this card.
I mean, in Arena, I would draft it, but that's about it.
Yeah. All right. Booty Bay Bookie. 2 mana, 3/3. Battle Cry. Give your opponent a coin.
No.
Does
way.
anybody think giving their opponent a coin is a good thing?
If this had 4 health, if this had 4 health, it'd be playable.
I think it can be. I think it's solid. In the right meta, I think it's a solid card. 2 mana, 3/3 is good stat line for 2 mana.
Mm-hmm. All right. Not as good as Grim Patron. 5 mana, 3/3. Overkill. Summon another arena patron.
Nope.
Trash.
The flavor text on I like this card. I think it's good. The flavor text on this is everybody with a ticket, get in here.
All right. The Shark Fin Fan. 2 mana, 2/2. After your hero attacks, summon a 1/1 pirate. Guys,
A lot of people were wrong about this
I
card.
love this card.
This card's great.
I rated it a 3, and I think I was one of the highest ratings on this
I think
card.
so.
We all
And
rated it a 3.
Okay.
No, Avanti's rated it a 2.
Yeah, there you go.
wait,
I knew I
I'm
didn't
looking
rate
at
it
the
very high.
line.
But I like
Somebody
this card.
rated a 4, but it is a solid card in a lot of decks.
Yeah, I like this card a lot.
2 mana, 2/2, and you get more bodies on the board. Yeah.
Yep.
So, all right. Ticket Scalper. 4 mana, 5/3. Overkill. Draw 2 cards.
Bad.
It's okay. It's okay. It needs rush, and I think the only way you can give it rush is either with a weapon or Captain Hook Tusk, and that's about it.
I agree. I think if it had rush, it would be really good. As it is, it's just kind of meh.
Maybe with the Warrior Loa?
Well, with Serrated Tooth, it's really good too.
I don't know, yeah.
All right. Rabble Bouncer. 7 mana, 2/7. Taunt. Costs 1 less for each enemy minion. So again, this reminds me of the Bouncer we had back in Mean Streets. That was the 4/5 that was cheaper. I like this guy. I think if you're playing taunts, I think he could be an option.
This is what Corridor Creeper should have. The original design for Corridor Creeper should have been.
I agree with that, but I think this card is not good enough to make the cut in just about anything unless you want to recruit it out with, what's his name?
Oakheart?
Oakheart, but I think there's a better card to pull out with Oakheart later.
Yeah, there definitely is.
If Quest Warlock stays around, maybe. And if Odd Paladin stays around, maybe. Outside of those 2 decks as direct counters, I don't really see where this has a home.
Okay. Next we have the Amani Warbear. 7 mana, 5/7. Rush and Taunt.
I love this card. This card could take place of the Witchwood Grizzly in Recruit Hunter. Once you get this into your hand, if you're playing against a control style deck, Witchwood Grizzly gets kind of clunky, and this card would excel. And at 7 mana, I mean, it's not too far for somebody just to play this.
Yeah, I like this card a lot. We talked about it earlier talking about that Druid, but I think this card is phenomenal in that Druid. I think it has a lot more application. I think the thing with Witchwood Grizzly, I think you're right. I think it has a lot more opportunity to replace that card because this card is always a 5/7 and it also can trade pretty significantly.
Yep. It's sort of, it bridges that gap between some people run the Witchwood Grizzly, some people run the Charged Devilsaur. I think if you but I think if you put this in, then you decide. You can decide a little bit more. It's like, what do you want your Charged Devilsaurs to do? Mm-hmm. So I like this card in Death Rattle Hunter, and I like it in that Taunt Druid. Outside of that, I don't know where else it fits, but it's still, I think those are 2 very good decks we're going to see a lot of, and I think it's going to be there. So
the only bad thing about the Taunt Druid is it does reduce the value of the Witching Hour if you use Witching Hour in that deck.
Why use Witching Hour when you have Undertaker?
Right.
There you go. All right. Saranat Taskmaster. 1 mana, 2/3. Death Rattle. Summon a 0/3 free agent with Taunt for your opponent.
Solid card.
Solid card, but I think it's really underperformed for me, and I've actually taken it out of a couple decks for that reason. I think it's good. I just don't think it may not be that as good as I thought it was.
I mean, it reminds me of some of the other 1-mana 2/2 or 2/3s that we've seen in the past where I forget it was the one that heals your opponent for 4 when
Zombie Chow.
Yeah. So, it reminds me of that same kind of feel, only, okay, they're getting a 0/3 taunt. That's not a big deal. Pretty easy to deal with. So, I like this card.
I like it too, and it's performed really well for me, and it baits out early removal. So,
yeah.
In an aggro deck, it does well.
Gurubashi Chicken. 1-mana, 1/1, overkill, game 5 attack. Nope.
This is probably the worst card in the set, and if the set was one card less, this chicken would get the axe.
Actually, this card is bad, but actually it made DK Rexar better.
I was getting ready to say the only time you ever
true.
want to see this card is when you get it off Rexar.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. All right. Sightless Ranger. 5-mana, 3/4, rush, overkill, summon 2/1/1 bats.
Bad.
Real bad.
I agree. All right. Moving along, we have the Spellzerker. 2-mana, 2/3, has spell damage plus 2 while damaged. I like this guy.
Really?
There's some application for it. I don't know what it is yet, and I don't think I need spell damage on 2 yet.
I would be looking at using him in something like a Burn Mage.
But you can't get spell damage on 2 with him, is the thing.
No,
Yeah,
it'd be
maybe
3 at the earliest.
You have to not only get him out, but you have to invest something to damage him. Maybe in a type of warrior, but where do you need that much spell damage in a warrior?
Mechathun Warrior. With you drop this draw, you play or the boom ship warrior possibly, or the Mechathun Warrior with that 2/3 weapon, 2/4 weapon. Where you drop this with the weapon. Yeah, the bad 2/4 weapon. You drop this twice, you get +4 still damage, and then you can somehow kill your Mechathun with something.
Play 2 bad cards to make one good effect.
Okay, stop. Okay, we're done.
So fringe.
Yeah.
Very, very fringe.
All right. Scarab Egg. 2-mana, 0/2, Death Rattle. Summon 3 1/1 Scarabs.
This card is minion producing egg ever printed.
Oh, I disagree. I
knew that was coming.
This card, once Keleseth rotates from Zoo, if we decide to go anti-Keleseth, this card is absolutely phenomenally bonkers with, say, something like Grim Rally, which the 1/1s don't get the buff, but that's fine. Everything else does. And you have a bunch of 1/1s, and even Shaman, it has ways to activate this thing and have a bunch of tokens on the board, which is phenomenal. I love this card. This card is phenomenal.
I saw this used in a Treant deck.
I was going to suggest Token Druid, yeah.
I have an idea for this card, but I don't know if it's a good idea. It's a Warlock deck that has that minion that whenever a minion dies, you do 2 damage to your opponent's face. And then you set up a Defile that your own minions are producing minions. And that is the problem is that minion dies too soon to do a lot of damage to your opponent. So I just don't see. I don't know. Maybe it's just a bad egg. It's not like Devil Sword Egg. It's not Nerubian Egg. It's a bad egg.
It's a Haunted Creeper Egg.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yep. So, all right.
Show that one.
I like this card. So, moving along, we have Rumble Tusk Shaker. 4-mana, 3/2, Death Rattle. Summon a 3/2 Rumble Tusk Breaker.
Man.
So it's 4 mana for 6/4 worth of stats, basically, if it doesn't get silenced.
It's kind of like a Piloted Shredder.
Yeah, it's like Piloted Shredder, but Shredder was a lot better.
Yeah,
I mean, a Shredder was solid 4 mana stats for a 2 mana minion.
Shredder's the poster child of power creep.
Yeah, but this is a solid card. I think it's good.
It's okay.
It's okay. It doesn't, like I said, there's synergy's a lot more important. There's no synergy here.
It's great in Arena, and again, I love Luchador Trolls. This is it just excites me.
All right, moving on.
All right, moving on. Regenerating Thug, 4 mana, 3/5. At the start of your turn, restore 2 health to this minion.
Meh, bad. Arena trash.
Yeah, I rated it a 3. I thought it was solid, but in practice, it's not really that good.
Yeah, I don't care for it either.
Yeah, I'm not all that big on it either. So, moving on, you've got the Helpless Hatchling, 1 mana, 1/1. Death Rattle, reduce the cost of a beast in your hand by 1.
I like this. I think it's solid.
I don't know that I would have a spot at 1 for this. There's
If it reduced the cost of all the beasts in your hands by 1, maybe.
yes.
But,
That'd be ridiculous.
yeah.
Yeah, it would. It would. I think it's a solid inclusion in a nice ramp up style where you just want drops on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hunter. I think it'd be good.
I really like this. I like this as my first pick in Rexar a lot because sometimes I just make a big beast too often.
I think I'd rather run Spring Paw at 1 than this card in Hunter.
As a hunter, but I mean, as far as like neutral ones, you're much better off with Argent Squire or Stone Tusk Boar or even South Sea Deckhand.
So, all right, moving on. Former Champ, 5 mana, 1/1. Battlecry, summon a 5/5 hot shot. This is just like the guy we had back in Mean Streets. The boss guy that summoned the 6/6.
Yeah.
Again, about the only time you ever saw it was in Arena.
Say hello to my smaller friend.
Yeah, exactly. I don't like this card.
Yeah, it's bad.
All right. Dozing Marksman, 2 mana, 0/4. Has +4 attack while damaged.
Whoever made this card was asleep at their computer.
Oh, I think we might be sleeping on this card, in my opinion. And I probably slept on it myself in the initial ratings. I was playing this in a aggro tempo warrior today. 0/4, they tend to ignore it. Then you so you have a target for your Fungal Mancer, and also you run Inner Rage in that deck. So then you have an 8/5 going at their face, or in the next turn you have a 4/3 +2 attack, 6/3 going at their face. This card, in my opinion, is a sleeper.
I can see that. I can see it being a fringe card. When I looked at it, I didn't see much to it, but now that the set has launched, I can see places where it might be useful, but not that I'd go out and craft it or anything if you don't already have 10 of them. But
all right, the Banana Buffoon, 3 mana, 2/2. Battlecry, add 2 bananas to your hand. I actually like this card, and I've actually seen it a couple of times already in decks on the ladder. People kind of experimenting with it.
Quest Mage. I didn't even think about it for Quest Mage, but it's an integral part of Quest Mage right now because those 2 1 mana bananas add to your quest.
Yeah, it's super good. I think there's a really solid applications for this, and I think even 3 mana 2/2 is not horrible. I mean, I think there's use for this, and in Galvanon Paladin for sure.
I do have to give a shout out to this card though. It reminds me of a sister podcast, Eternal Podcast, from the Void. One of their hosts, Bassoon Buffoon, had to eat a whole banana, peel and all, for hitting a sub goal, and he had a very bad day that day and that evening.
Yikes.
But it was hilarious.
Takeaway:
banana peels, not good. All right, moving on. Arena Treasure Chest, 4 mana, 0/4. Death Rattle, draw 2 cards. I don't like this card.
Too expensive, too much health.
Yep.
All right, Arena Fanatic, 4 mana, 2/3. Battlecry, give all minions in your hand +1/+1.
Too expensive.
It wrecked me today. It's actually a fairly solid card.
It's a good card in Arena, but I think in Constructed, I don't think it's there yet.
I mean, the fact that it hits all the minions, I think, is the big thing. If you're running a minion heavy deck and it's going to hit 4 or 5 cards, I think it really pays for itself.
Well, it goes back to that whole, hand buff mechanic. It's like, how fast can you really put them out? Can you really afford to give the 4 slot to this and really lose the tempo that you lose by playing a 4 mana 2/3 on turn 4?
Yeah.
Well, somebody coined this out on me. They turn 1 Kobold Librarian, turn 2 tap, turn 3 coin this out. Next thing I know, I just have big Serenite Chain Gangs coming out, and that Warlock Zoo played this perfectly. Now, he had the nuts, so it was a perfect storm, but it worked well for him.
All right, so next is the Dragon Moss Scorcher. It's a 5 mana 3/6 dragon. Battle Cry, deal 1 damage to all other minions. I like this card because if you're playing with Dragon Synergy, you can coin it out on 4 against aggro decks. You can play it regularly on 5 or later to activate other minions that do something when they've taken damage. I think it's a good utility card.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and a 3/6 body is really commendable at that mid game where you just need a minion out there to soak some damage and clear some smaller minions. In the Dragon Warrior, it's a really, really good card.
Actually, it's just a good card even outside of Dragon Warrior. Just as a good 1 mana board wipe that in case you don't like dudes hanging around.
Yeah, and you could. And what's great is at 5, you could actually play this right before they play their level up and just wreck their world.
I like this card a lot.
All right, moving on to the Moshog Enforcer. Is an 8 mana 2/14 with Taunt and Divine Shield. I think he's just too expensive.
Way too expensive.
I think he only sees play in combo Priest.
8 mana is still too much for that.
Well, and that's what I was thinking today, too, till I run into some test subject priest that just kept me eliminating stuff on the board until he got this out. And then by the time this got out, I didn't have any removal left, and it just ran over me.
The version of the Undertaker Taunt Druid that I played today had this, and it was rough. Oakheart brings it out. Also, having it resurrect off of the Hedronox effect is really annoying because of the Divine Shield and the health. This is a good card.
I could see it used in Taunt Druid. Outside of that, I'd have to play around with the priest thing Forsika was talking about.
Let me revise my statement. It's good in that deck. It's very good in that deck.
I only saw it, like I said, the one time, and like they had test subject the whole game, and it was like this revolving door of test subjects that had some kind of new something on them, and it was like by the time I got finished removing all of it, this came down, and at that point I had nothing left to deal with it. So,
gotcha. All right, moving on, we've got the Halftime Scavenger, 4 mana, 3/5, stealth, overkill, gain 3 armor.
I think it's solid. I mean, a good neutral stealth minion. There's a lot of combos or kind of plans in some of these mid-range decks require you to have a minion to enact it on, and not only will you have this minion because it has stealth, it can get you some armor for sustain later in the game. I think it's solid. I don't think it's great, but I think it's a solid card.
Forsika?
I think once set rotates, I think this card becomes better. Right now, I'm playing around with it in a control shaman deck. But that's really the only place I've found so far that has an open spot in like the 4. And I'm just trying to find replacements for Star-Not Chain Gang. So.
Gotcha. All right.
It's okay.
Cheaty Ankle Biter. 2 mana, 2/1 lifesteal, battle cry, deal 1 damage.
I think it's good in aggro decks.
Yeah, you don't need lifesteal that early.
That's true.
No, but the one damage, just the one damage and the threat of the lifesteal can open the door for other minions to get on the board, and if you got a 2/3 and a 2/1, this 2/1 on the board together, they might actually take out the 2/1 instead of the 2/3.
Yeah. Okay, and last but not least, the Ornery Tortoise. 3 mana, 3/5, Battlecry, deal 5 damage to your hero. I mean,
this is my Loa. This is my Loa.
This is your Loa. so I mean, if you can cheat him out to where you don't take the Battlecry damage, he's a 3 mana, 3/5. But
well, even like the Battlecry damage isn't like that. Like turn 3 isn't that substantial. No. It's not enough to be worried about. And I think this card, it's a 3/5. It's a 4 mana card for 3 mana. It's super good.
He's actually really good off of Rexar's ability too.
Yeah.
If you get him with the rush lifesteal, dude, it's like he makes his money back.
The chances that you're not going to get that 5 damage back from him just from his ability to early clear is pretty low.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. I like this card a lot.
He usually 2, sometimes 3 for 1s for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it for the neutral card review. That pretty much, like I said, brings us to the end of the show this week. Thank you guys for hanging out and listening to our reviews of the neutral cards. If you are interested in our thoughts on the class cards, again, part 1 will be out in your RSS feeds next Wednesday. Part 2 will be out the following, and part 3 will be out the day after Christmas. So, thanks again for tuning in. If you have any questions or comments about the show, please email us at heropowerpodcast@gmail.com. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button on YouTube if you haven't done so already, or give us a follow on Twitch to be alerted when we go live. And if you are interested in joining our Hero Power Discord, it is patron only. You can find out more about that over at patreon.com/heropower. But you can join us in all of our weekly discussions for as little as $1 a month. So, and I guess at this point, I have to. We didn't say it in our normal time, so we'll see you again next week.
And don't forget to use your hero power.